Right then, so this is the radio side of the shack. Fits in nicely with the computer side of the shack. But what we're fitting in today is the intercom system. So I can communicate with the kitchen. And I did previously have an intercom installed. This is the slave unit from the kitchen. The master unit hasn't survived the re-roofing of the shed. So I've had to purchase this new intercom off of the auction site. It's a 2-station wired intercom. Now the 2 stations consist of the master unit, which is the powered unit, the controller if you like, and the slave unit. I've not got it wired in at the moment, although I'll show you it working, but I've got some work to do because I want to that's just a repeater identifying itself. I think it was the Richmond repeater. Anyway, there's cable connecting the 2 intercoms together. You get lots of it, 20 meters, so that goes through the shed, through the garage, out of the garage, across over a door, and then up into the roof, and then from the roof, down into the kitchen. So I've also already got the old wire installed, so I want to replace, I don't want to have to reroute this cable, so I'm going to splice into the old wire, but I've got to determine the polarity of the old wire because this intercom comes with the long wire, and I don't know whether you can see that, but there's a grey wire and a white wire, and they must be connected to the right terminals in the back of the intercom. The old wire is both grey. Both of the 2 wires are grey, so I'll show you how I'm going to sort that out in a minute. But essentially we have the 2 units then, the master and the slave. Slave will be in the kitchen. So if the kitchen wants to communicate with me, they will press this button here, which will buzz on my master unit. I'll switch the master unit on. After I can then press to talk. Yes, what do you want? Kitchen slave unit just then has to talk, and I can receive. They don't have to press this button anymore. This button is just to get my attention to actually switch the master unit on. If I want to talk to the kitchen, I can just switch on and press and shout the kitchen. So it doesn't, I've taken the batteries out, but it runs off 4 C cells. That's these, bigger than AA but smaller than D, and it takes 4 of those. Which fit in there like so. Gravity assist. So this has 4 C cells in it, which give a total of 6 volts, but you can actually, if you don't want to run it on batteries, there is a socket there for putting 6 volts in. Now this is quite heavy with those 4 batteries in, so it isn't going to jig about anywhere, but it does have mounting points, and it is supplied with screws, so I can screw it up onto the wall. and in fact I will be screwing, switch that off, I will be screwing this slave unit in the kitchen on the wall. And I've already got a wire from the previous intercom running that route, but the previous wire has just 2 grey wires, and I have to connect the right wire to the right spade connectors on the back here. So I'll show you now how I'm going to determine which of those grey wires is which. So this is the wire coming through from the garage into the shed, drooping down the wall there, and I'm just going to take that wire, pare back the insulation so I can connect a 1.5 volt battery across the 2 wires. So I mark the positive so I know which is the positive wire. Now all I've got to do is take my multimeter to the other end of the wire, measure the voltage at the other end, and the multimeter will tell me which is the positive and the negative, so I can match up the grey wires. So you can see here where I've hidden the old wire behind the plaster, and then it goes up into the attic under the eaves. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pair these wires back and see which is which using the multimeter. Probably can't see that. Okay, and we've got it's reading 1.5 volts. So I've got the positive on the marked one. The one that was marked on the other end corresponds with this one. If I swap these leads around, it'll read minus 1.5 volts. There we go, minus 1.5. We want plus 1.5. So this one is our positive. This one here is our positive. So we'll mark that. I'll just hold it with my third hand. I'm not going to get electrocuted with 1.5 volts. So we'll put that on like that. We'll just recheck. Yes, we put it on the right one. Okay, so now we know which one's which, and I can splice it in so I've just got these spade connectors and get rid of the rest of the new wire, which at the moment comes through the kitchen window. So now we just have to connect it up, making sure we get the right wire and we get this under the washers.
your cash ready.
Right, I'm coming.